Good afternoon, everyone. This is Breezy Pre over here at Vlog Media Studios. As you can see, my studio needs a lot of work. I digress. I wanted to talk to you today about the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion part 1 last night. It was not an epic reunion. I think that the only one who really kept a lot going was Kenya. And I think that Kenya knows her job because, as we all know, she knows that she is a co-worker to most of the women on that show, as she has stated in the past, even on Watch What Happens Live. Earlier on in the season, she referred to them as her co-workers. She said, "We're co-workers." So Kenya knows her position, and she played it very well last night for a reunion show, and just to keep it interesting. And so I want to get into that a little bit because, as you know, the reunion starts off kind of backstage. All of the women are coming into the stage, and we can see their dress, their formal attire very clearly now. And as they entered the stage, I started to have a different opinion about their dress, because if you look at my previous video, I had made some comments about some of them. Well, one in particular, and that was Kenya. And I had said that I didn't like her hair, but actually her hair looked beautiful. Kenya's a beautiful, beautiful chocolate sister, okay? Her, Gabrielle Union, a few others, they really represent the beauty of chocolate sisters who are famous or in Hollywood on reality shows. And so I did like her bun. She has beautiful hair. Her hair is very naturally long. As I need to also mention, Oprah's hair is very naturally long. Most of the time, Oprah does wear her real hair. A lot of people think that Oprah is always wearing wigs or getting weaves and stuff like that. Oprah has a head full of hair, and it's thick. And so does Kenya. So I wanted to just say that. I also liked her dress better than I thought I would. Even though I don't like it as well as I liked Portia's, I do like it better than I thought I would. I loved her shoes. Take these off a minute. Her shoes looked really good. I love those shoes. I think those were Louis Vuittons, if I'm not mistaken, but I liked her shoes. The best dress initially is Porsha, though. Her dress was, and I'm going to use an old one, up the heezy fasheezy. That dress was nice. Porsha really knows how to come out. She knows how to look really good, and she has a really nice figure as well, in spite of her big badunka in the back. She has a really nice figure. So I like that. I love her hair short like that. That's not the first time she's ever worn her hair like that. So I really like the way it lays down on her head and her face. She just has one of those faces that really goes good with almost anything. Her lips are puckered right. She has just like the most beautiful features that I've really seen on a woman. She's really very gorgeous. Now she looks good until later on Toya comes out. And Toya, to me, is just very, very pretty. I want to touch on Kandi's outfit as well. When it first came out and they were advertising it, I didn't like it. However, on the show last night, it did look a little more suitable than I had originally viewed and made a comment about. It looked initially to me trashy, and I was like, why would she do that for a reunion? It just did not look appealing at all. But last night on the show, the way she carried herself, the way she sat, and due to the theme, it was a little better than I had anticipated. As we will see next week, Marlo's gonna come out. Now that looks way more trashy than I thought. But I digress. I'll wait until then because I might change my mind once I see her come on the stage. And so Cynthia looked very pretty. I actually liked her satiny looking feathers better than Kenya's fur. or whatever that was on her shoulder. Um, Cynthia is also just a beautiful woman. Cynthia looks more Native American than anyone on that stage. Her features are completely Native American. Look at any Native American, those cheekbones, the way her eyes and her face are structured. So I digress with that. I do want to touch on her hair. Her hair looked a little bit better than I had also viewed originally in my previous video. At the same time, I still thought it was too plain for her. She's such, Cynthia knows she can do some wonders with that hair. I don't know, maybe she was just trying to let it down or let it go or do something different. If you will look at previous reunions, though, you'll see she has always brought it. Okay, Cynthia always brings it to the reunion. So I'm going to let up off of her a little bit about the hair. I'm sorry, I have to get something to drink here. My drink's almost gone. Okay, so that I digress with regards to the dress. I kind of want to get into let's see here. What happened next? Let's see. Kenya. Okay, Andy is going around to the ladies and he's asking them, how they're doing, once they're all seated, as he always does. These glasses are crooked. I don't know if my head's crooked or my glasses are crooked. But anyway, Kenya's comment was, in the words of Big Freedom, I didn't come to play with these hoes. And immediately I was like, okay, Kenya, can we get some class and dignity from you? Everything doesn't always have to be on 10. It really doesn't. You can start on 1 and build to a 10. Okay? So that comment was just so out of place. And if Big Frida is that same lady that was with them in New Orleans, if you ask me what I picked up when I was looking at my television, she wasn't digging on Kenya too much. I want to pause and say, I love Kenya. I really loved her in the beginning of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. My perception of her is gradually changing, and not that she cares, because Kenya's the kind of person that if you say anything negative to her, she doesn't want you in her midst at all. She doesn't care what you think about her, whether it's good or bad. And, I'm just here as a commentator on YouTube trying to get some space in this world. Therefore, I'll still say what I think. And that is, she's too grown for this mess. Grown women don't act like this. I recall when Housewives first came on and they were throwing drinks and glasses and smashing tables and doing all these crazy things. My girlfriends and I looked at each other and we were like, we would never do that if we were out to eat. Are you kidding me? Real true girlfriends do not act like that. Even though now I will have to say these shows are having an effect on society and the way women treat each other. Because women have become seemingly more, what do I want to say, they're less tolerable with each other than they used to be. And so that goes to show the effect that television has on the human mind. That is why I think as Black people, we're always vying for space on television, for good, positive space, for good, positive role models, so that whenever our children or other people are looking at these tubes, they can see something good or something great even in themselves, because they're looking at people who are of the same culture as them. Now, I also will say it is up to us as parents to rear our children, to raise them, and to put things in their minds ourselves, to give them a good rearing so that whenever they are grown people, they do know how to respond and to interact with other people in society. So I go off on a tangent. I digress again, but I want to get back to this and say that Um, when she made that comment, though, Andy paid her dust. He went right over to the next, because, sometimes he has a little bit to add to the ladies whenever they make their opening statements in the reunions. But I think Andy does not like Kenya. Let me know if you also think that. Over the years, I have picked up on the vibe that he really does not like her, and she might even know that he doesn't like her, which is why she doesn't mind saying some of the things she says, like, look, we're all co-workers. Things like that, things that Bravo doesn't want you to say. And also, banging up against the fourth wall. For example, whenever she did not get invited to, when Porsha's sister didn't invite her to the event to celebrate Porsha, being a part of Black Lives Matter, Kenya was not invited. And she kind of broke the fourth wall when she said, well, somebody's going to pay for this makeup, Things like that. She might know that they don't really like her that much, but they keep her because she's good for television. Which to me says she needs to, as I said in a previous video, develop some other connections that will help her move forward in this life financially, because 1 to 2 years and she's out of there. People are really getting sick of her. The public is at a point where they are done with her. Not just the ones that like her either, that don't like her either, but the ones who like her, like me, are thinking, television is outgrowing her. In fact, I'm outgrowing Rhoa, period. They need a new Rhoa and need to change its name. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes television shows, they just come to a place where it is just time to say goodbye and to do something else. I think Rhoa is headed in that direction. So I also want to say, they were talking about all the weight that they gained during the pandemic. Kandi was talking about her eating, and as we saw, they were showing video of her eating. Kenya did gain over 30 pounds, and it looks like she's lost it, a good bit of it anyway, and her butt did lose weight. So that may be her big, real badonka back there. That doesn't look good. That means she hasn't been working it out much, because there are some hills in it, I like to call them. Some people call it cellulite, but there are some rolls and hills that need to be straightened out. It's not as straight as her legs are. So it's weird to have your behind be that way and not the rest of your body. I don't know. But anyway, so they're talking about all the weight gain, and truth be told, I mean, some of them were gaining weight before the pandemic, and I think they just took it further because we were in a pandemic, and now they want to blame the pandemic, and I digress. So Porsha's talking to Kenya. Porsha and Kenya get into a back and forth about Black Lives Matter. Now let me say, I wholeheartedly love the work that Porsha is doing in terms of bringing attention to what is happening to us here in Black America. I love it. So for Kenya to sit across the couch from her and not even show respect for that, that was an all-time low for me. That pretty much, I'm pretty much really done with her on that level. And I loved whenever Porsha said to her, what did she say? Let's see, what did I put here? Oh, she said, while you're talking from the curb, while you're over there talking from the curb. So Kenya says that her and Porsha cannot be, there's no comparability between what Porsha is doing for Black civil rights in America and what she's doing. I want to know, what is she doing? Why didn't she touch on that? And if you cannot compare the two, why are you disrespecting Porsha then? Why are you making what she does less than what you do, when really most of us don't even know what you're doing? And if you can't compare them, then that means neither one is not less than the other. So why are you even bringing it up? Just say thank you and call it a day. You're rude. You're rude as F. For real, girl. We are both, even though I'm older than you, we are in an age bracket wherein we both have seen some things go down in America with regards to white police and how they treat black people. And not even just white police, but the school systems, corporate America, things that have been in the news over the decades that we've been alive, Kenya. Are you kidding me? Listen, I try to really empathize with Kenya because it's a very painful process when you are a young child and your parents reject you. It's very painful. So I can't imagine that, but I do remember being a little girl and loving my parents so much, loving them so much that I couldn't imagine if they rejected me. I couldn't imagine if something had happened to them, you know? So you're a little child, and then as you grow up and you have that continued energy and mentality about what has happened to you, I cannot imagine. And I think Kenya desperately needs help with that. The fact that she's even trying to hang on to Mark the way she's hanging on to him. I still wear my ring. I am a married woman. You're not a married woman. Okay? You're not. Well, first of all, I mean, legally, we don't even know if that's true. Okay? Because the paperwork you showed at the last reunion last year, that paperwork, we didn't even see it all. It looked a little blurred. So, but even more importantly, the man with whom you are saying you're married to has sorely disrespected you. So for you to sit there and continue to embrace that, for me, I would be too embarrassed to even talk about it. I wouldn't even want anyone to mention it. Or if they mentioned it, I would say, listen, he has sorely embarrassed me. You know, I loved him, or else I wouldn't have married him. Everyone knows just how badly I wanted to be married. So when I met someone and I thought that we really connected, and we're standing there, he's putting a ring on my finger, I'm putting a ring on his finger, I'm feeling like I'm on top of the world. And then a year later, boom, and we have a baby together. And he immediately begins to disrespect me. So I'm embarrassed, and I would just like not to answer any questions about him anymore. We're in the process of doing the best we can to get through this separation and divorce and to deal with our daughter in terms of co-parenting. And I would leave it at that. I wouldn't sit there and be like, I am a married woman. And I still have my ring on. I still wear my ring to show my commitment. I cringed. I was so, as a woman, I was embarrassed for her. I was embarrassed for her. So I want to move forward and just talk about Miss Porsha, because I don't like violent women. I don't agree with them. But Porsha is right. She even hit a nerve in me, because I have held on to just not liking her because I liked Kenya. So in my mind, I was kind of pitting the two of them against each other. Because I liked Kenya, and I really didn't like the violent side of Porsha. I didn't like that side. But last night, whenever she said to Kenya, when someone changes, you ought to at least recognize that, or however she put it, that hit me. I was like, you know what? She is absolutely right. And she has grown. And I'm so happy and so proud of her. And in fact, Porsha, Kenya's educated, right? She went to some school in Michigan. And Porsha finished high school, to my knowledge, if she went to college, I know she doesn't have a bachelor's of science or a bachelor's of arts or a master's or anything like that. So if she went to college, she didn't finish, or she might have an associate's degree somewhere, or maybe she did something else. But the difference between the two of them, and let me share with you, I come from a generation where education, from a generation of Black people here in North Carolina, where education is really important. I don't know of a community in North Carolina that didn't preach to my generation the importance of education. And that is why the year that I went to college, there was an abundance of Black people entering in the university and college educational institutions, an abundance. And the governor at that time had even given money to all of the colleges that were part of the university system in North Carolina. He had given money to them to encourage them to accept Black people into the colleges. So when I went to the college where I went and did my undergrad, we were the largest freshman group that university had ever admitted. We were the largest. So, and then from there it has grown. It now has all kinds of fraternities and sororities, Black fraternities and sororities, whereas when we entered, I think we were like 500 strong in our freshman class. When we entered, they did not have any Black fraternities and sororities. And now you go there, they're all over the campus. I went back, I know, for a homecoming, and they were everywhere. And I was like, wow, this is just amazing. And, so I say that because sometimes you'll hear me on here talking about education and, hold on one moment, just one moment, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back. So we entered into the university system, and that's where I left off. But the reason I was bringing that up is because the difference that I know between Kenya and Porsha is Kenya did finish her college career. Porsha did not. So I wanted to just see if I was thinking right in terms of the way that I perceive educated people to be, because the people in my community, they would go to college and come back and they would be so different. And even those who would go to the military, they go to the military, they come back, and you could tell they were military men and women. They just carried themselves different. And quite frankly, I'm going to say this. People who go to the military and come out, oh my goodness, they carry themselves with so much more just attractiveness and just like, what am I trying to say? They are so debonair and dignified, and they speak differently, they act differently, their expectations change when they come from the military. And college is the same way, but it's a little more liberal, right? There's a difference, but I digress again. I wanted to go online and look and see, what does it say about educated people in terms of their character. And so I did that. And it talked about the 10 qualities of educated people. It says they listen and they hear, they read and they understand, they can talk with anyone. Of course, they write clearly and persuasively and movingly. They solve a variety of puzzles and problems. They respect rigor, not so much for its own sake, but as a way of seeking truth. That's what got me, that last part, because I'm looking at all these things. There was another part of it that I'm going to read to you. It says they understand how to get things done in the world. And let's see, not to act is to abandon others, our own responsibility for trying to make the world a better place, even in the face of what we know to be injustice. So that's called the 10 qualities of a liberally educated person, right? And I was looking at that and I was like, well, even though that is the difference that I see between Kenya and Porsha, um, Kenya being the one who went through the process of being educated, right? Porsha didn't complete that process in terms of, secondary. But all of these things that are descriptive of an educated person leans more towards Porsha than Kenya. So I was like, wow, I'm glad I looked that up because that just gave me all the more reason to really change the way I think about Porsha. And I think I'm beginning to really like Porsha. And she was so humble last night. She was so humble to Kenya last night because Porsha is like a real person on this reality show. I believe she brings real stories to us. She brings real relationships. She brings her real feelings and how she thinks about life and family and politics. And, you know, I think that's why a lot of people like her because even on Instagram, she has like millions of followers to Kenya's small dose of that. And so I just wanted to bring that out. Um, Moving on, there's also dialogue between Drew and Kenya. And, quite frankly, I know Kenya sees them all as co-workers and she's just doing her job. I would just like for her to pay Drew dust. Drew's name begins with a D, R-E-W. So I want her to pay D-R-E-W D-U-S-T. And why do I want that? Because Drew is so overtly dramatic that she's pathetic. I'm going to be right up front and direct. I don't want her on the show next year. Do you guys want Drew on the show next year? Comment below and just let me know. I want to know, am I the only one? I was watching Wendy Williams today, actually this morning, and even Wendy Williams said she doesn't want her on the show. And I was like, okay, well, that's one thing Wendy and I have in common, okay? Because we don't want Drew on the show. Drew is so desperate to be on the show, though, that this is why she is giving so much attention to Kenya and to Toya, because right now, Kenya and Toya are her targets because they are the most recognized on the show right now. They're getting the most attention. And I don't know, I think Toya surprised her the first time she met Toya because her nonverbal motions in that meeting showed me that she liked Toya. Her nonverbal characteristics demonstrated a liking to Toya. And Toya rejected that liking. And so Drew is reacting to rejection from Toya. And that's why she goes in on her. And she's consistently going in on her because she doesn't want to, she's trying to protect herself. She saw someone that she was, connected with or thought it was a one-sided connection. And Toya immediately put her aside. So that's rejection, and that's what you're watching, is she's rejecting her. And the other thing is, when Kenya and Drew's husband comes out, and they start to talk about the day that he spent in Tampa, and that the amount of ocean that he passed just to get to Tampa. Do you guys believe him? Or is he a good liar? Is he a good liar? Because men lie, okay? They lie, and they do it so well. And it was just, I don't know, maybe he took that drive because his wife pissed him off so bad that he did pass all those oceans. Sometimes you can be so, upset with someone, that you're just driving and wherever you end up depends on how your emotions are at that time. So I guess that's easy to believe. However, the fact that he showed her all of this information, of course he's not going to share with you if he bought lunch with another woman. He's not going to share that. So he's going to make sure he covers himself. He's a smart man. Did he go running? Yeah, he went running. Doesn't mean he was by himself. 3 days in Tampa. I mean, it took you 3 days to get over that little bit of anger with your wife. That really should have been something you should have stayed home to resolve. It shouldn't have been something that sent you on a drive to Tampa. So anyway, do you guys believe him? Just let me know. The other thing is, I can't see. I need to leave my glasses on, but they keep getting crooked. So whenever Kenya and Drew were going back and forth, and Drew accused Kenya that, they showed the the Instagram that Kenya had posted about the fact that the meeting between Drew's son's father, and also Drew's husband, Ralph, made Kenya cringe. And Kenya felt like that was a conversation that could have been had outside of television. Well, first of all, Kenya's not the only one who felt that way. And Drew kept making it look as though Kenya said something negative about her son, when Kenya did not say anything negative about her son. Kenya was talking about the situation, the meeting. She didn't say anything directed at Drew's son. So Drew's anger was not only misdirected, it was kind of malicious, because she was trying to just go after Kenya for anything. And Kenya, this is what happens sometimes when you're in a debate with someone. Your blood pressure rises, you are all up in arms, and it causes you to neglect the reality of what is happening. This is why I'm always saying that when you're in a debate with someone, you need to really slow down and take a deep breath and really think about what is being said in the midst of the debate. And even if it's a debate that you want to continue on with. Because if I were Kenya, I would have said to Drew, listen, I'm not apologizing to you because that statement had nothing to do with your son. You're trying to make it all about your son because I'm your target. I was talking about the situation. I was talking about the whole meeting. I never said one thing directed at your son. So if you took it that way, I don't owe you an apology. Those are your feelings. That's how you took it, but that's not how I meant it. And the fact that I'm saying to you that that's not how I meant it means that you're upset over nothing. That was it. And then Kandi chimes in. Okay, by the way, pause. Kandi recently was on Watch What Happens Live last week, I think it was, or was it week before last? And she said that she and Kenya had not talked in months. She hasn't talked to Kenya in months. And that doesn't normally happen. Normally Kenya and Kandi, they're consistently talking, like once a week they get together. You've seen them on Instagram together, her and Cynthia and all of them, at events and stuff. And Kenya hasn't talked to her in months. And last night at the reunion, I see why. Okay, probably also in addition to the Bolo situation, because Kenya knew what Kandi told her. Kandi also heard some things in that room. And so I think Kenya felt like Kandi should have been more supportive. And Kandi felt like she doesn't go around talking about other people's business like that. So, I mean, they both have good points. I kind of tend to go more with Candy's point of, listen, stay out of it. That's her business. She's a grown woman. She has to give an account of that. The other thing is with the Bolo situation, I want to say this real quickly. I think that Porsha was upset as well with the Bolo situation because of the fact that she wanted things to work with her and her man, Dennis, and things like that getting out could mess that relationship up, as we see that it did, because he did go in and unfollow her during that same time as that was happening. So that hurt her relationship. So Kenya should have really thought about that, you know? You have to think about these things, because look at how she did with Phaedra's husband, Apollo. Apollo was a married man. You don't jump on his back, putting your crotch all over his back in front of his wife. You shouldn't do it when his wife is not there, but you definitely shouldn't do it there when she's there. That could not have been me. Phaedra, television co-workers, whatever, she would not have jumped on my man's back like that. That would not, no. And I'm not a violent person, but I would have gone over there and pulled her down and thrown her in the water. Don't get, no. So, I think that's what was happening there. And I kind of got off on a tangent there because it was on my mind as I was speaking about the situation. I just think that Kandi coming in and saying to Kenya, "Oh, you don't talk about people's kids. You don't talk about people's kids." She chimed in, and it was not supportive of Kenya. As we can see, Kenya said back to her, I never said anything about the little boy. Now, she did, in the next breath, apologize to Drew. But I think she did it just to shut Drew down, which Drew is crazy. Because when you're talking that fast to another person and you're not listening, you're being unreasonable. So Drew is quite unreasonable, as we can see, because she should have slowed down to listen when Kenya said, "Okay, I apologize," and said, "Well, and you owe my son an apology too." So you see, she's just going in for whatever she can go in for. Not only does Kenya owe her an apology, but she owes her son an apology too. And her son, as we know, kids that age ain't even thinking about Kenya. Did she let her son see the Instagram? But anyway, if she did, she should not have let him see the Instagram. Other than that, Kenya doesn't owe her son an apology. Now, they also talked to Kenya. Andy talks to Kenya about the Indian costume that she wore. First of all, that's the costume of an Indian chief. I don't know why Kenya thought that that's what she would wear, because in the Native community, they don't have female chiefs. That attire that she had on, I don't want to call it a costume because I don't want to disrespect anyone. That attire is meant for the males of the Native community. And I want to go on and say, Kenya, and a lot of Black people do this, a lot of times they say they're Indian, and I believe them most of the time. I have some Indian in my mom's side of the family, but we've never been to the what do you call it, the campgrounds, or the tribal grounds, or what do they call them, the tribal areas. They have them in North Carolina, up in Cherokee and those places, but we haven't been there because we're not 100%. We probably have like this much. It probably doesn't even come out with the draw of blood, so when I hear Black people say they have Native American in them and they have not practiced that, there's a different thought process in me, right? I'm thinking, if you were that close to the community and that community claimed you, you should have been practicing. I'm not going to say practicing it, but you should have some kind of connection to it. Because some people don't practice certain things because of religious beliefs. I get that. But there should be something that shows that, that you have a connection, that they know you, they acknowledge you, things like that. So for us, looking in though, we know Kenya as a black woman. And on the show, she calls herself a black woman and a chocolate woman. We've never heard her say, I'm an Indian woman. Or, we have this. If that is a side of her, that would be a very interesting side of her to show as well on the show. So I digress. I just think that she should be more humble. Kenya, when someone is saying something to you, as Porsha did last night, which I thought was pivotal, and it was very touching, and it was very authentic for Porsha to communicate how she was feeling about what Kenya did to disrespect her. And then Andy looks at Porsha and says, well, she did apologize. And Andy looked at Porsha and said, Kenya did apologize. And Porsha is thinking, and she said this as well, listen, in this moment, she can't accept that apology because you've been disrespecting me this whole time. And now you want to throw an apology? I'm still on 10 from your disrespect. So, Porsha is amazing. Isn't she? Her growth is amazing. Put something in the comments there about that. Did you start out liking Kenya and now you've moved more to Porsha, or vice versa, which I can't imagine the vice versa, but did you start out that way? Kenya's the kind of person, if you say something to her that she doesn't like, even journalists on this YouTube have just simply asked her a question or said something to her, and she blocked them. That's not smart. This is a journalist, and whether they're on YouTube or not, this person is actually, the person I'm talking about is an educated journalist, okay? Not like some people who come on here and they're uneducated journalists and they think just because they do reporting that they are journalists. The person I'm talking about actually is over at All About the Tea, and she is a bona fide person, professional. So I would never block her if I was an actress or if I was a reality star, because I would want to maybe use her to some degree to gain, coverage, to gain fans, So I just thought that wasn't smart of her to do that. People need to get out of their feelings when they're in these professions. I mean, people have always said good and bad things about stars, and true stars know that. Look at the soap operas, people who have acted on soap operas, people who have done nighttime soap operas on television. People have always had their picks, their choices, and said things. It just was not as prevalent as it is today because we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have the only thing we really had was Entertainment Tonight, and all they did was the good stuff. They did, but then TMZ gradually moved in there, So for these reality stars to be so sensitive to everything negative, as soon as someone says something, they want to block them. People have always done this. They just have a forum to do it in now. So I digress with that as well. But I'm impressed with Porsha's growth, and that's why I really, really like her. And she is her grandfather's daughter, and she was 6 years old marching right there with her granddaughter, her grandfather. Her grandfather wanted to introduce her to what was going on in Black America. So she was very privileged. And I remember Hosea Williams, honey. I was in Atlanta when Hosea Williams went into the commissioners meeting and got them told with his cane. Boom. He hit that cane on the table, on the floor, or something. I see where Porsha gets her, her rowdiness from. She has a little bit of rowdiness, and that she don't mind a good fight. Hosea Williams is the same way, honey. He was the same way before he had the cane and after the cane. But Atlanta loved him. Atlanta loved him. He had a big heart, like Porsha. Porsha has a real big heart. So he would be so proud of his grandbaby. Let's see. What else do I want to say? One more thing. Drew is over dramatic. I do not want her to come back. Not even just because she's over dramatic, but she's over dramatic for no reason. And I don't generally like people who just go after someone because they're big on the show. I would rather you sit back and take it all in. I think that's why Cynthia's been on the show so long. And I want people to stop saying Cynthia should leave. She should not leave. Cynthia should stay. Cynthia is the balance of everything, okay? And I think last night she didn't do much at the reunion because she knows what's out there about her. A lot of people are saying she should leave. You guys need to change that. Everyone doesn't have to be dramatic and overkill. We don't have to. Everyone does not have to be a Kenya. Everyone doesn't have to have a debate and a strife with someone else. I like that Cynthia has, she got married. She brings her life to the show. She brings her sister, her mother on, and she's a real person, and she does the real things, and she is the balance because you have your Kenya and then you have your Cynthia, okay? And I do want LaToya on. I want LaToya to come back, but people to say she doesn't have any connections, I think that we are seeing non-verbally that she does have the connections right now. Cynthia and Kenya, and still even Kandi. So she has the connections. However, I don't think Kandi should come back. She probably will come back. This is what I want. My lineup is for it to be Kenya, Phaedra, Cynthia, Toya, Porsha, and I do want one other person, but I don't want it to be Kandi. Maybe they need me to help. I know some people in Atlanta. They need me to help them bring in somebody. I have a few other thoughts in my head. So that's what I think. I just don't think Kandi should come back. I think she needs to move on, do acting, open up a production studio, and her and Todd do that kind of thing. Todd is really good with production. They can do that on a different set. After this season, I do want Porsha to come back for one, maybe two more seasons, okay? Just because I like her so much, and she's so stable for the show, I think. But I think that Porsha needs to be planning to move in some other directions, like creating a show of her own, having a full-on spin-off, better than the Zodiacs, even though I did like that show. I like Kim's show, Kim and Corey. I don't know why it didn't get that many ratings. I don't know, maybe I'm a low ratings liker. So I also want to just end by saying Toya comes on the stage and it's like, bam, girl. Can we do a pop for Toya? Toya is gorgeous. She's gorgeous. Beautiful black woman. Didn't like her outfit. Someone needs to tell her what to do during the reunion. She better not do this next year if they bring her back. No, don't wear this, Toya. Your hair looked beautiful. Your face, you don't even need makeup, girl. Need I say anything, okay? But this is not how you dress for a reunion. You were dressed like you were going to the club, if you ask me. I loved your comment about SpongeBob. I did. I'm so bad. Lord, forgive me. You know what? And I'm the last person to talk about someone's look. Drew reminds me of SpongeBob. After Toya said it, I was like, okay, I can see that. Anyway, next week, Marlo's coming up. They're going to be talking to Cynthia about her wedding and what the public was saying about that. And then they are going to get into a little more of Bolo. So I'll be excited to hear about that. I'm sure that Marlo is going to bring... Oh, that's who should come back to, Marlo. Marlo should just always be on there. Even if they don't give her a peach, she can stay. Okay. So that's it for now, guys. I hope you liked this review. And again, are you guys even listening to me? Even if I only get 8 people, can all 8 of you give me a thumbs up? Can all 8 of you subscribe? And can all 8 of you click the notification bell? Okay? Because I don't want you to miss out what's going to be happening here in the future, because I'm about to do a whole revamping of this set and everything. So I want you to be here for all of that. And you guys have a great day. I'm going to come back. I might do Married to Medicine. I'm kind of, oh my goodness, on the fence about that. I may do a show of that. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and thank you for listening to me.